Welcome back, geometry students, to another Regents review video. This is the January 2016 Regents exam in Geometry Common Core. These will be the solutions to Part 1, questions 13 through 24 of the January 2016 Regents exam. Once again, if you are here to copy answers to get something done, like homework, please refrain from doing so because the Geometry Regents is really difficult. So please, I encourage you to try these problems on your own. The only way to get better at math is to actually do the math. If you're here to check your answers after you did it, or if you're here for some sort of guidance to assist you, then this is the right place for you. And let's just jump right into it. We're jumping to question number 13 on this exam. All right, here we go. Question 13 says, in the diagram below, triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF. If AB is 6 and AC is 8, which statement will justify similarity by side angle side? First and foremost, what angle are they talking about? It says side angle side. They're talking about the included angle. So immediately angle A must be congruent to angle D. So we could get rid of choices 3 and 4. They make no sense. Now we just have to pick the numbers where 6/8 is equal. So can 9/12 work? Well, let's see. 9/12. Is that equal to 9/12? Well, 6/8, well, that's equal to 3/4. And 9/12 is also equal to 3/4. So that actually works. So therefore, choice 1 is the answer because these sides are in proportion. So that is, in fact, justified by side angle side similarity. And that is how you do question number 13. Moving on. 14. The diameter of a basketball is approximately 9.5 inches, and the diameter of a tennis ball is approximately 2.5 inches. The volume of the basketball is about how many times greater than the volume of the tennis ball? So first, let's find these volumes. So the volume of the basketball, I call it BB, basketball. The volume of the basketball will be 4/3 pi r cubed. It is a sphere, so that's the volume formula for a sphere. And that's found on your reference sheet, by the way, too. So the volume of a basketball is equal to 4/3 pi. Now the radius, well, it says the diameter of a basketball is 9.5. So therefore, your radius is half of 9.5, which is 4.75 to the third. Now, the volume of the basketball is going to be equaling 448.921. Okay, so that's the volume of the basketball. Now let's find the volume of the tennis ball. That's, again, equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. So the volume of the tennis ball is equal to 4/3 pi. Now, the diameter is 2.5, therefore your radius is 1.25 to the third. So the volume of the tennis ball is equal to 8.181. Now it says here, how many times greater is the volume of the basketball compared to the volume of the tennis ball? So all we have to do is we need to take 448.921, which is the volume of the basketball, and divide it by 8.181, and that will tell us how many times greater it is. And that is approximately equal to 54.8, which is approximately 55. So the basketball is about 55 times greater than this tennis ball. Number 15. The endpoints of one side of a regular pentagon are -1, 4, and 2, 3. What is a perimeter of the pentagon? Now, I need to make one thing perfectly clear. A regular pentagon means that all sides are congruent. That is actually so important in the context of this question, or else we couldn't have answered it. So, if we're given 2 coordinates and we need to find the length, what formula do we use? Well, we use the distance formula. So d is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So distance is equal to the square root of 2 minus -1 quantity squared plus 3 minus 4 quantity squared. D is equal to the square root of 3 squared plus -1 squared. D is equal to the square root of 9 plus 1. D is equal to the square root of 10. That's the length of one side. So this is radical 10, and if that's the length of one side and it's a regular pentagon, then all sides are radical 10. They're asking you for the perimeter of the pentagon. Well, the perimeter is radical 10 plus radical 10 plus radical 10 plus radical 10 plus radical 10, and that is equal to 5 radical 10. Make sure you know how to add radicals. If you have radicals with the same radicand, you just add up the coefficients in the front, and the coefficients in the front are all 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then attach on the radical 10 at the very end. All right, moving on. 16, in the diagram below of right triangle ABC, AB is 14 and AC is 9. What is the measure of angle A to the nearest degree? So here, I'm drawing my little stick figure, and we're trying to find the measure of angle A. You have to use SOHCAHTOA to solve for this angle. Okay? Now, your 14 is the hypotenuse because it is across from your right angle. Your 9 is your adjacent side. So if we have an A and an H, we're using cosine. So we have to take the cosine of angle A is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay? So the cosine of A is equal to the adjacent side, which is 9, over the hypotenuse, which is 14. Now, when you're solving for an angle measurement, you have to take the inverse cosine, or cosine of -1, as most people call it. But we have to take the inverse cosine of 9/14. So I immediately go to my calculator. Make sure that your calculator's in degree mode, by the way. And you go to the inverse cosine of 9/14, and that will give you 49.9, and then round it. So that would be 49.9, approximate it to the nearest degree. That's going to be 50 degrees. All right, moving on to question 17. What are the coordinates of the center and the length of the radius of the circle whose equation is x squared plus 6x plus y squared minus 4y equals 23? I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this question. First and foremost, I want to show you how to complete the square normally. So, when you complete the square, you need to have your letters on one side, numbers on the other side. And that does. We're good. So, now our job is to create a perfect square trinomial. When we create a perfect square trinomial, we need to take half the middle term and square it. By the way, what you do to one side of an equation, you must do to the other side. Keep that in mind. So, in order to get these values in the blank spaces, in order to get these values here, we need to use b divided by 2 squared. So it's half of your linear term, and then you square it. Half of 6 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. 9 over here, 9 over here. Half of -4 is -2. -2 squared is 4, and 4. So now all we need to do is we now need to factor these. What adds to 6 and multiplies to give you 9? And what adds to -4 and multiplies to give you 4? What's nice about completing the squares, it's always the same number. So it's x plus 3 plus y minus 2 is equal to 36. Now, I could rewrite x plus 3 and y minus 2 as x plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared is equal to 36. Now, the center and the radius can easily be determined. So the center is its opposite values, which is going to be -3, +2, and the radius is going to be 6. So that is going to be choice 4. That's your center and your radius. Now, that's how to do it algebraically. My job is to show you as many different ways as possible. Go to your graphing calculator, and by the way, this could only be done on the TI Inspire. So, if you go to your graph page, and you go to Menu, then go down to Graph Entry Edit, and you click on Equation Templates, go to Circle, and then click on Standard Form. It comes up as this long strand of boxes and letters. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to plug in my numbers that are corresponding to it. Now, in front of the x squared, there's a 1. In front of the y squared, there's a 1. In front of the x, there's a +6. In front of the y, there's a -4, so you have to type in -4. Now, the problem is here. In your Regents exam, the 23 is on the right-hand side. In the calculator software, it's on the left. So what we need to do is we need to say, hey, wait a minute, I need to now subtract the 23, so I'm going to type in -23. And I hope that makes sense to you. And then you press enter. And then it comes up as this circle here, which is great because you probably didn't know that you could graph circles on this thing. So now if you click on Menu, go to Analyze Graph, then go to Analyze Conics, and then you click on the center, and you hover over the circle, and you click, look, the center pops up as -3, 2. Now do it again to get the radius. Menu, Analyze Graph, Analyze Conics, Radius, which is number 7. And you hover over the circle, you click and click again, and there you have the number 6. So that is how you get those values on the graphing calculator using the TI Inspire. Okay, number 18. The coordinates of the vertices of triangle RST are R, -2, -3, S, 8, 2, and T, 4, 5. Which type of triangle is triangle RST? So the first thing that you want to do is just graph it and look at it and see what you might think it is. And that's probably the easiest way to do this question. So if I were to pull a graph over here, and I go to -2, -3, that's point R. S is the point 8, 2, so that's S. And T is 4, 5. And if I connect all of these points, what does this triangle look like? It certainly looks like a right triangle because there's your right angle in the corner. But we need to be so 100% sure. And the way to do that is to calculate the slopes. The slope of RT, you're going up 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right 1, 2, 3. That's your rise over the run. So the rise over the run is 4/3. That's your slope. The slope of TS is down 3 to the right 4. So look at this. These slopes are negative reciprocals, and we know that negative reciprocal slopes form perpendicular lines, and perpendicular lines form right angles. So we know for sure that this has to be a right triangle, which is going to be choice 1. All right, number 19. Molly wishes to make a lawn ornament in the form of a solid sphere. The clay being used to make the sphere weighs 0.075 pounds per cubic inch. Now, if you've done enough of these questions or done enough of these exams, you kind of know what's coming here. If the sphere's radius is 4 inches, here it is. What is the weight of the sphere to the nearest pound? Again, if you don't know it by now, please do. Weight is equal to density times volume. Okay? So, we have our density. It's 0.075. We need to find the volume of the sphere that she wants to make. So the volume formula of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay? Now the radius is 4. Great. So the volume is 4/3 pi times the radius of 4 and cube it. So the weight is equal to the density, which is 0.075 times 4/3 pi times 4 cubed. Oh, I'm sorry. I put the cubes in the wrong location. Cube should be next to the 4. Okay? Now when we type that into our calculator, 0.075 times 4/3 pi times the radius of 4 and cube it, and we get 20.1, which to the nearest pound is about a 20-pound sphere. So that's number 19. Moving on to question 20. The ratio, oh, there's a good question. The ratio of similarity of triangle boy to girl is 1:2. That means that triangle boy is 1/2 the size of triangle girl. Okay? If BO, because boys have BO, just kidding. So GRL, all right, so we have these two triangles. If BO is x plus 3 and GR is 3x minus 1, what is the length of GR? So the length of GR and the length of BO are not the same, but we have to force it to be the same. So in order to do that is we need to realize, well, wait a minute. X plus 3 is 1/2 the length of 3x minus 1. So therefore, what we're going to do is we're going to double this. We're going to double this to make it equal this. So I take 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 3x minus 1. Distribute the 2. We get 2x plus 6 is equal to 3x minus 1. We are going to then subtract the x on both sides. We get 6 is equal to, we subtract the 2x on both sides, and we get 6 is equal to x minus 1. Add the 1 on both sides. and we get x is equal to 7. Now, it's saying find the length of GR. Take the 7, plug it into GR. That's going to be 3 times 7 minus 1. That's going to be 21 minus 1, which is equal to 20. So that's going to be choice 4. All right, 21. Oh, there's a lot of reading. In the diagram below, DC, AC, DOB, CB, and AB are chords of circle O, and line FDE is tangent at point D and radius AO is drawn. Sam decides to apply this theorem to the diagram. An angle inscribed in a semicircle is a right angle. Which angle is Sam referring to? So, well, let's go through each answer choice. The measure of angle AOB, keep in mind that we're looking for a right angle. The measure of angle AOB, is that a right angle? No. That's a central angle. And a central angle does not necessarily have to be a right angle. So that is wrong. Choice 2 is showing the measure of angle BAC. BAC, okay. That's an inscribed angle, okay. But is it inscribed in a semicircle? Well, it starts at B and it wraps around to C. That's not a semicircle. A semicircle has to be 1/2 of a circle. That's not making it the full way. So choice 2 is wrong. Let's go on to number 3. Choice 3 says the measure of angle DCB. Well, DCB is right here. Well, that's an inscribed angle, so that's good. So is that intersecting a semicircle? Well, it starts over here and it wraps around to B. And as you can see, nice. This is a semicircle, so therefore that is your answer, choice 3, because it is inscribed in a semicircle. Awesome. That's choice 3. Moving on to 22. In the diagram below, CD is the altitude drawn to hypotenuse AB of right triangle ABC. Which lengths would not produce an altitude that measures 6 radical 2? So we're trying to find the length of the altitude. Your teacher should have taught you one of the following ways. I call this the heartbeat method. Okay? I call this the heartbeat method. Now no mathematician figured that out, called it the heartbeat. I just call it the heartbeat method because this looks like a heartbeat. We need to use triangle proportions to figure this out. Or you might have learned it as SAS. Segment over altitude equals altitude over segment. Okay? So which of the following would not produce 6 radical 2? Well, let's take a look at choice 1. If AD is 2 and DB is 36, does that produce 6 radical 2? Well, the flat line over the pulse, this is the heartbeat that I'm talking about, flat line over the pulse equals the pulse over the flat line. 2 over x equals x over 36. When you go up, you must come down so that x is used twice. That's your mean proportional. 36 times 2 is 72 equals x squared. Then you take the square root. You could simplify radical 72 into 36 and 2, and that does give you 6 radical 2. So that actually does work. So we need to try another choice. Number 2 says that AD is 3 and AB is 24. Be so very careful. AB is 24. Therefore, DB is 21. So I do it again. 3 over x equals x over 21. 21 times 3 is 63 is equal to x squared. Take the square root of both sides. 63 can be broken down into radical 9 and 7. The square root of 9 is 3. Radical 7 carries along for the ride. That's not equal to 6 radical 2. So therefore, choice 2 is your answer. All right, moving on. 23. A designer needs to create perfectly circular necklaces. The necklaces each need to have a radius of 10, or else the poor person will choke on the necklace. What is the largest number of necklaces that can be made from 1,000 centimeters of wire? So the one thing that you need to know is what's being measured here. Well, when you have a necklace, what do you call the length around a circle, or the perimeter of a circle, which math teachers don't like to say, but the perimeter of a circle? It's circumference. You're measuring circumference. So circumference is 2 pi r. The radius has to be 10. So the circumference is 2 pi times the radius of 10. That's going to be 20 pi. Okay? Now, that's the circumference of one necklace. Okay? This person or the designer has 1,000 centimeters of wire to use. So we're going to take 1,000 and divide it by 20 pi. Go to your calculator. 1,000 divided by 20 pi. Now make sure that your pi is in parentheses or else it will change the whole answer. It has to be in the denominator. Your answer is 15.9. So it can't be choice 3, it can't be choice 4. Which one is it, 15 or 16? People said 16 is the answer, and that is so wrong, because 15.9 suggests that you do not have enough material to make the 16th necklace. The 16th necklace is going to be too small for the person. So therefore, you have to stop at 15. That's what made this question hard. So the answer for this one is going to be choice 1. Do not round up. 24 is the last question of the multiple choice section, and it is the hardest. And I need you to listen to me so very carefully because it will take a while to explain. In triangle SCU shown below, points T and O are on SU and CU respectively. Segment OT is drawn so that, this is important, so that angle C is congruent to angle OTU, and angle U is reflexive. I hope that you could see this. This little triangle was actually flipped and pushed into that corner. So it was flipped around or reflected and then pushed back over here. Now the reason why I know it's reflected is that these angles are corresponding. Shouldn't this be down here? It should be, but they decided to move it. So you need to be so incredibly careful when doing this question. Now what I like to do personally is I like to now separate these triangles. I like to draw a separate image on the side showing what these could be, okay? And I'm going to make them corresponding. Hold on one second. Let me just get this set up here, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so here are my two triangles, all right? And I'm going to label them as SCU. Now, I want these angles to be the same. So therefore, this little angle down here, your T is actually going to go down here. Your U is going to go in the same spot because they are corresponding to each other and they are congruent. And the O is going to go up here. Now let's actually read the question. If TU is 4, okay, 4. OU is 5. OC is 7. What is the length of ST? So they told us that TU is 4. Do we have a TU over here? Yeah, we do. That's 4. OU is 5. That's great. And okay. OC. OC is tricky. OC 7. But we need the length of CU because we need to set it in proportion to that 4 down below. So we actually need to go back to the original triangle and add these to get 12. This length over here is the length of 12. And SU, if we add these, that's equal to x plus 4. So now our goal is to take this, set it in proportion to the 12, and take the 5 and set it in proportion to the x plus 4. Let's go ahead and do that now. So we get 4 over 12 equals 5 over x plus 4. Cross multiply and solve. So we get 4 times x plus 4 is equal to 60. Distribute that 4. You get 4x plus 16 is equal to 60. I'm going to move it down here. So we get 4x, we subtract the 16 on both sides, and we get we get 44. My apologies. We get 44. Divide by 4 on both sides, and you get x is equal to 11, which is the length of ST, so that's going to be choice 3. That was definitely a step up in difficulty level. In my opinion, hardest multiple choice on this entire exam. And that is the conclusion of the multiple choice section and this video. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and visit my website at www.nysmathregentsprep.com for more math content and lots more. And I will see you soon.